feel like women go more get labeled more in relationships of the being crazy, going to the psycho, because I think women stay through more things than men would. So
okay, go on.
So I think that stuff that guys do in a relationship, right, and it hurts their partner, but I think that women stay and they put up with it, and they will communicate, I didn't like this, don't do it again, and they might do it again, and then you stay again. Whereas I do think roles reversed, flipped the other way, if that woman then did to the man what he'd just done to her, he'd leave.
Can you give me an example?
So say say we're out, we've had a few drinks, we're with a group of friends, right? The boyfriend goes to the bar, he's chatting to a girl, looks a little bit flirty, maybe gets a bit touchy-feely, the girlfriend's kicking off, what have you done that for? They go home, they have a massive argument, they make up, right? Then they carry on. He's like, I'm not going to do it again, da-da-da. I think flipped the other way round, if a man was out, he's with his group of friends, his girlfriend's there, and then she's over at the bar chatting to a guy, a bit flirty, hands-on, do I think that he would go home and be like, we're done? I do. I think a man would more easily cut that off, because I think it comes down to maybe a pride thing. You've done that in front of my friends. People have witnessed it. I'm not going to have a woman who does that. I think women are more forgiving. We shouldn't be. We absolutely shouldn't be. But are more forgiving when it comes to things that involve someone maybe being unloyal or breaching on cheating and everything like that. So I think that maybe would, kind of going back to how we were saying, when a man says a girl's crazy and you think, well, what did you do? It's because a lot of the time I think guys will just leave if it's her. And not all the time. Like, obviously there are some cases where women are terrible to men. There really are. But I just don't think men put up with what women put up with.
I hear what you're saying. So I would agree that I would say that women tend to be labeled more crazy psychos, but men get labeled more as narcissists.
Yeah.
A lot more.
True.
Right? Now, in regards to like going to the bar, etc., I completely agree with you. Guys have much less tolerance for that.
Yeah.
But that's because the tolerance in which men and women have for each other is different based on what we look for. So when it comes to being sexually territorial and loyal, that is something men deeply seek in a woman. Like, that's a really big factor. If I'm going to invest my life in you, potentially provided and die for you, right, have children with you, sexual loyalty is like one of the top 2 things that you have to have as a woman. Now, I'm not saying that women don't care about sexual loyalty, but I think there are other things that can sometimes take priority over that. So for example, okay, you may be mediocre sexual loyalty, maybe a tiny bit questionable, but I know you take care of me. And I know that if I need you, you're there for me. If I have a problem, you'll solve it for me. If I'm stuck somewhere, you're going to come and get me. I'm not saying it's okay for him to be sexually disloyal, but I think that takes more of a priority for a woman over her sexual loyalty. Now, because as men, we don't look for that in you. We don't look for you to take care of us in the same way. We don't look for you to provide and provision for us.
Yeah.
So the sexual loyalty thing is our main focus.
That's really interesting, actually. Yeah, because I think when something will happen like that, the woman will go, but he does this, but he does that. Yeah, I've never even thought about it like that.
Whereas guys, like, it sounds, and I'm just giving the male perspective, right? And it's gonna sound controversial, but I'm just giving the male perspective so you get how guys think. If I take care of you, make sure you always get home safe. I pay for most things, right? You always feel safe around me. When you feel discouraged, I'm there to support you, right? I provide the home, provide an environment where you feel safe to be the woman you want to be. You want to go do something? Yeah, babe, let me know how you get done. Here's my card. Do what you need to do. You being sexually loyal is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Bare minimum. Because I'm doing all this. I'm giving all this to you. And the thing is, the masculine is naturally generous, right? That's the role of the masculine, to be naturally generous. But it's like, be loyal to me and respect me. Those 2 things, that's it. If you're even suggesting compromise one of these 2 things, of course, there's no way that you can stick around. But as a woman, and tell me your opinion. Okay. The list you look for in a guy: tall, attractive, older, intelligent, leader, confident, competent, has to be at least my level or above, must have a plan for the future, has to be able to lead, has to be able to take responsibility, be willing to die for me. You have a long list. If one of them, his sexual loyalty is sometimes questioned, okay, maybe I can turn a blind eye to that because he has all these other things. So I think because the list that women have, and there's pros and cons to both, right? I think because the list that women have in terms of what they look for is so long in comparison to his, if there's something a bit questionable but he has other things, she's more willing to compromise. But the things that men look for are so few.
Do you think that's changing though?
Go on.
So I hear what you're saying, and I definitely agree that there are some men out there who don't have a big long list. But I do feel now we are getting more men who have a longer list.
Okay.
Like they want a woman who looks a type of way, can go halves on the bills and everything like that. I do think we're seeing more of a shift.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I think part of that is because we should absolutely have equality, of course, for men and women, but especially our generation, we have told men that to be masculine is toxic.
Yeah. Okay.
So now, and we've told women to be masculine is better for you.
Yeah.
So we're telling men to be less masculine, more feminine, and we're telling women to be more masculine, less feminine. So of course, if you're a woman now and you're meeting a guy who's a product of his generation, he's going to be like, well, yeah, what kind of masculine stuff are you bringing to the table?
Yeah. That's so true.
Do you see what I'm saying?
100%.
And so as a woman, you're like, okay, but you know, now everybody has masculine and feminine in them, right? Masculinity is going to help for your career, business, amazing, right? But if you're coming to your relationship with your man and you want to be in your feminine more, and you do appreciate a man who can be that guy for you, then it's going to be hard to do that if his entire life growing up he's been told to be masculine is wrong. And don't treat a woman like a lady, treat her like an equal.
Yeah.
That's what they've been told.
Yeah.
That's what we've been told. Do you know what I mean? And I think, if I'm being honest, just what I'm seeing, I think a lot of women are meeting more of these kinds of men because that's what we've been told as a generation. And they're like, I don't like it.
Yeah, we're like, no.
I want to be treated like a lady.
Yeah.
Right? But then I guess you have to choose in that sense, you know. See, I just don't believe there's no such thing as equality within a relationship.
Yeah. I think as well, as you go through a relationship, the sounds terrible to call it a power dynamic, but that is what it is. It shifts throughout. I think there's areas in your relationship where the man should lead and the woman follows, and there are other areas where the woman leads and the man sort of follows.
Takes her guidance.
You know, if you take it into like account, if you think about when you have a baby, a woman is just naturally more maternal. So in that instance, the woman leads and the man follows. That doesn't mean he doesn't do anything. He still shows up, but he will probably be looking to the woman to, what do I do?
For guidance here.
Because
we're
it's just more natural to us. Like, you know, there's, there's a lot of conversation at the minute going on around like men going into when they have children and stuff and not instantly feeling connection to their babies and everything like that. And I think some women hear that and they can shun men for that, and I don't necessarily think that's very fair, because it's like stepping into the unknown where they will then look to their partner to be like, right, what do I do? How do I connect? Like, kind of teach me. But then there are other areas of a relationship where the man takes charge, he leads and he follows. And I do agree with you that the conversation around, obviously, there should be equality in society when it comes to jobs, pay, everything like that.
Absolutely.
But I agree with you. In a relationship, you can't have equality. And that doesn't always mean the man's higher and better than the woman, but you can't just constantly be equal all of the time.
I agree. Why do you think women do shun a man in those areas? If she already naturally has the competence and the wherewithal to be like, okay, this is what I'm great at, so let me show you, let me give you some guidance. Why do you think some women shun a man in those areas? What do you think that's about?
I think it comes from experiencing or hearing in life a lot that men are better than women. So I'm talking more societal. So then we go into our approach in life of, well, why should I have to show you how to do this or how to do that? If I can figure out how to do it, you should know how to do it because you're a man. And I'm not saying that's the correct way to think, and I don't think that it is, but I think if we're talking society as a whole, just as a generalization, I do think as women, the man is sort of seen as the superior sex. So then when we feel like we've got to teach and guide, especially if you've experienced negative relationships as such with men, it can get your back up to be like, well, why should I? You should have it figured out. And I don't think that's the right way to think, but I think it's very easy to fall into that way of thinking when you've experienced that.
100%. I guess that does make sense. I guess you can feel, if we've been told this other demographic is better and superior to you, and then it comes to a point where you're having to show them, and you're like, you've had all the advantages and you've had the advantages, why am I having to show you? And I think that narrative is really damaging, not for men, but actually for the women. Because I remember there's a study that actually shows that, it's actually completely natural for the bond between the mother and the newborn baby to be so much stronger than the paternal, right? The paternal tends to come in a little bit later. That doesn't mean he shouldn't be there, of course. But it's even as simple as so they found that if you have like a mother and father, right, and they've got a baby, right, if the baby starts crying in the middle of the night, right, or makes a sneeze or some kind of movement, the mother wakes up immediately because she's so attuned with the child, right? But if the baby is dead quiet, right, and through that the dad's dead asleep,
he's
dead asleep, right, dead asleep, dead to the world. But if there's like a noise outside, right, even if the babe's not crying, if there's a noise or some movement outside, the father wakes up.
That's so interesting.
And the mom's sound asleep. And it's almost like, because she's attuned to the raising of the children, but he's attuned to protection and danger. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like a primal thing. So I think it's really, it's natural for, her to have a much stronger bond earlier on in the rearing and nurturing phase, especially if she's just given birth and breastfeeding. Like, the amount of intimacy between a mother and her child is like second to none, right? So I think it wouldn't be fair for him to be in the same way, of course. But I also think as well, like, just because if we say like a man leads, right, so if he's the captain of the team, just because you're the captain, that doesn't mean you don't take guidance from people within your team. So if I've got a platoon of soldiers, right, and we're like in enemy territory, I'm like, okay, we need to scout the terrain at the beginning and see if there's enemy forces. I'm going to send the scout and be like, hey, okay, go scout out, come back. Okay, you've come back. All right, guide us. Which way should we go? Because this is your area of strength and expertise. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's completely natural for him to seek guidance in her when she has those strengths and capabilities. And let's be honest, that's probably part of the reason why he chose her, because it's like, she covers me when I'm weak. She covers the areas that I'm not great at, and that's what I admire about her a lot of the time.
But I think that when a man is like that, they are quite a secure man. I think sometimes men don't want to feel like they need to seek the guidance. I think, because I agree with everything you've said, but I think there is a side of it where men feel like, be it from family, societal pressure, whatever it is, feel like they should know and be able to do everything. So to then be in a relationship where they feel like they need to ask their woman for guidance on a certain area, they don't want to do it. And I think that's when you get into like I think sometimes women can feel like men are, like they say, mansplaining, overly explaining something because they want to feel like they know everything.
Interesting.
And I think that, how you were we were going back to women not wanting to give the help, not wanting to guide. I think that can all play a big role. You've kind of got, if a man's not secure within himself, like we've all got insecurities and stuff, but if he's been brought up to think that he should know everything and no one does, so that it gives you insecurities because you're like, I don't know everything, but I feel like I should.
Yeah, of course.
You don't want to seek guidance, so you never ask your girlfriend or your wife for help, guidance, and she's there thinking, you're mansplaining everything to me, you're not taking on board anything I'm saying. And then when it comes to something like having a baby, and then they're like, I don't know what to do, then I think you get the narrative for the woman of like, well, you knew how to do everything else, you never asked me for help on anything else, show up now. And I think that
Yeah, I agree. I think that does play a role for some guys. You know, if they think that they have to know everything and be able to lead in everything, and then their ego gets in the way of being like, "Hey, I'm not great at this. Can you just show me how this works?" With what you've seen with like your friends, maybe your own experience as well, what do you think is one thing that a lot of women don't understand about men today?
Hope you really enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full episode where that clip is from, then I want you to click right here where you can watch the full episode. And if you're ready to claim your man today, enroll in my program below, and I'll see you there. Wishing you an amazing